Listen up, because it's time to destroy the romantic fantasy of life on the open road. Not every semi-truck was built to conquer highways and chase freedom across America. Some were engineered into rolling financial nightmares. Machines so catastrophically flawed they drained bank accounts, crushed careers, shattered reputations, and broke the spirits of the hard-working drivers forced to depend on them. Today, we're diving deep into the dark side of the trucking industry as we count down the 10 worst, most hated semi-trucks ever unleashed on American roads. These are the rigs that stranded grown men on lonely interstates in the middle of the night, destroyed businesses with endless repair bills, and turned dream jobs into mechanical horror stories. And trust me, the absolute disaster waiting at the #1 spot is so infamous it didn't just ruin trucks. It changed trucking history forever and left a scar on the industry that still hasn't healed. So hit that subscribe button, buckle up tight, and stay with us until the very end, because this countdown only gets more brutal from here. Starting off at number 10, we have the undisputed king of cheap corporate fleet misery, the Freightliner Columbia. There's a reason these things once clogged the right lane of nearly every interstate in America, and it certainly wasn't because drivers loved them. The Columbia was designed with one mission only: be as cheap as possible for giant trucking corporations buying fleets in bulk. Unfortunately, the true cost of that affordability was paid by the exhausted drivers who had to live inside these miserable machines day after day. Fire up a Columbia, and you were immediately greeted by a symphony of rattling hard plastics that sounded like a toolbox tumbling down a staircase. The interior screamed cost-cutting at every possible corner. Every switch, panel, and dashboard component felt like it came from a bargain bin toy factory, and the ride quality was downright punishing. Driving a Columbia without a trailer felt like riding a wooden roller coaster with square wheels. Every pothole slammed directly into your spine, leaving drivers physically exhausted before they even reached their destination. And the suffering didn't stop there. The insulation was practically non-existent. In winter, the cab became a freezing metal coffin on wheels, while summer turned it into a scorching fiberglass oven that the weak air conditioning could barely cool. The Columbia wasn't built with pride, comfort, or soul. It was built to be disposable. But if you think rattling dashboards and back-breaking rides were bad, wait until you see how a legendary American icon completely lost its bite at number 9. Coming in at number 9 is one of the greatest heartbreaks in trucking history, the Mack CHN and CX series. For generations, the Mack Bulldog hood ornament symbolized unstoppable toughness. Mack trucks were famous for their ability to survive brutal abuse and still make deliveries on time. Drivers trusted them with absolute loyalty. But when early 2000s emissions regulations tightened and Mack rushed into new technology, the legendary brand stumbled hard. The CHN and CX series became the face of that painful downfall. At the center of the disaster were the early EGR systems and the notoriously frustrating VMAC electronics. Old-school Mack drivers who were used to simple, rugged reliability suddenly found themselves staring at dashboards lit up like Christmas trees. The electronic control modules were plagued with mysterious glitches. One moment you'd be cruising smoothly down the highway, and the next the engine would suddenly shut down, sensors would fail without warning, and you'd be stranded helplessly on the shoulder waiting for an expensive tow. Even worse, the early EGR engines ran hotter, produced massive amounts of soot, and wore out engine components that used to last the lifetime of the truck. Drivers who once swore eternal loyalty to Mack felt betrayed, as these trucks spent more time connected to diagnostic computers than hauling freight. And somehow, things only get worse from here. Number 8 takes us into the nightmare world of medium-duty misery with the Sterling Actera. If you worked local delivery routes, beverage hauling, or box truck operations in the early 2000s, just hearing the word Actera is enough to trigger painful memories. Sterling, which rose from the ashes of Ford's old heavy truck division after being absorbed by Freightliner, created a truck that seemed determined to self-destruct from the inside out. The ride quality was absolutely brutal. Hit a pothole, and it felt like the entire cab exploded. Drivers joked that every bump could rearrange your internal organs. But the true horror was the build quality. Doors refused to stay aligned, and it wasn't uncommon for them to pop open after hitting rough roads. Under the hood, Mechanics faced endless electrical nightmares caused by poorly routed wiring harnesses.